Hello, my beautifuls. This is my first time ever recording a video podcast. And if you're watching right now, you can see my villa room, and right here on the side, you can't see, is the pool. It's stunning. The weather has been gorgeous here in Bali. Um, I feel like I have to start off with a life update because things have been absolutely freaking crazy since I've come here. It's been just under 2 weeks and I've gotten unwell twice. The first thing that I had was a cold, which luckily passed overnight, if you heard my previous episode. The second thing that came right after that, as soon as I moved into my second accommodation, was Bali belly, or in other words, food poisoning. So I got a mild case of food poisoning, and so I was in bed with a lot of gastric pain for at least 3 days. And then while I was in the process of recovering from friggin' Bali belly, you wanna know what happened? I got a pill stuck in the back of my throat. And that is still there right now. I have contacted my insurance people who connect me to emergency support. And I don't even know if that's the right route, but I'm just so lost. I've tried everything I possibly can do to get this pill out of my throat. It's like in the back of my throat, and if I eat or drink or try to vomit it up, it just doesn't do anything. If anything, the pill feels like it moves down my chest to the top of my stomach and then just kind of just comes back up to the back of my throat. And while it's not blocking my windpipe or obstructing my breathing, it is really uncomfortable, especially when it kind of moves down towards my chest region. It kind of feels like it's just squeezing in there and it's just really uncomfortable. So I'm starting to get a little bit concerned because that happened last night, and you guys should have seen me. I was so stressed. I was trying to make myself vomit. I know TMI, but this is how we do here. I was just so stressed, and I even ordered a pizza because somebody on the internet said eat some food, and I hadn't eaten some food. I didn't have any food on hand, so I ordered a pizza at like 11 o'clock at night. The pizza came, and I was like, my stomach is going to hate me for this because I'm recovering from food poisoning and I shouldn't be having any dairy or intense solids. And it did. So I fell asleep last night in so much gastric pain and afraid that I was going to die in my sleep because of this pill. So I slept upright because I was so afraid and in so much pain from my stomach. And so here we are, and the pill is still in there. I'm waiting on the response of the people I contacted. So fingers crossed, if you guys see this and I still have a freaking pill in my throat, please reach out to me and send me a message. But yeah, that's been a little bit crazy. I don't know why, but Bali has come for me in all the ways, and it just hasn't been that friendly to me in my health. I usually don't have this many health issues ever. The second thing in my life that I feel like I need to update you guys on is that I have had a major realization of how significant this time away with myself actually is. I found myself really being unable to focus, unable to re engage back on social media, and just wanting to be avoidant. And that really made me curious. And so, after some deeper exploration and reflection during my slight period of healing before I got sick again, I realized that I think going on underneath this whole entire journey to Bali and the surrender experiment is something so much deeper. I feel like I haven't really given it the time of day to really process or to really face what could be happening for me right now, whether it's a personal thing, a spiritual thing, or a business related thing. I don't know, but all I know is that it is truly really significant. I can't talk. And therefore, I announced on my socials that I'm going to be offline indefinitely. I can't necessarily say exactly when. I'm going to estimate until at least the end of my trip or until it just feels right for me to get back on again. And this is just to simply honor this season of my life. I think, we don't really give ourselves the time to truly have these transformations when we're so used to bringing everyone along with us. And for me, I had a lot of expectation that I placed on myself, and for a lot of you guys, that I would be documenting this whole journey. And so many of you guys were excited to tune into my vlogs and my social media. but I feel like I wasn't doing this for me anymore. And I feel like there's so much that needs to be happening in this season for me on a personal level that I have no room to do that or to really be present with the moment. And so I know that in the future I'll be able to definitely document more trips, but I feel like I really, really had to honor what needed to transpire in this trip, because it's going to be huge, it's going to be significant. And I also feel that I need a little bit of time for healing. And I don't really know exactly what that means, but I spent the whole day yesterday just in a state of prayer and worship. And I felt that my spirit really needed a lot of reconnection and healing. So I'll tell you guys all about that on my blog if you're keeping up to date with it. Otherwise, I'll tell you guys on the podcast when I tune in every week. Or you can just hang around and wait till I get back on socials and I'll fill you guys in. So that's the other thing. The final update in my life is that I have been luckily steadily finding my rhythm here in Bali. I think, like I said in my first episode since moving, it's been a little bit challenging because there's so much activities. There are so many people and there's just constant stimulation all the time. You want to do everything. There's always people asking you to go places. And it's surprisingly amazing for connecting and experiencing new avenues of life that you haven't. But in this case, I feel like my trip really, really requires me to be still, and Canggu is just probably not the best place for that because it's really crazy, it's really busy, and there's just so much activity, and my energy just gets like thrown out of whack because of everything happening. So what I've done to find my rhythm is to have a simple routine in the morning. I go to the gym, I have my protein shake. I sip it slowly at the gym before I leave. I catch a Gojek back to my apartment. I then journal and take a swim. I read for a little bit on my Kindle. I take a shower and then I journal. And usually at around that time, it's about 11, 12, so I'll have my first meal. So technically, my day doesn't really start until about midday. And it's really wild because back home, that would kind of be preposterous. It would be like, what did you do with your whole day? But I do think that life here is a little bit slower, and that's the point. I wanted it to be a bit slower anyway. So I'm finding my rhythm by just implementing a little bit more routine. And so far, so good. Okay, so now let's get to this topic, self-leadership and how to back every decision you make. And so, as I just said, right, I just made a major decision that's going to affect my entire business. I know I kind of downplayed it in my life update, but the reality is this decision to disconnect from socials meant that I basically was putting everything I'd worked for on the line. And this isn't just a temporary hiatus, like a week or two. This is like a 3-month potential hiatus where there's going to be no activity, no visibility, no traffic, no selling. And I don't know what I'm going to do. Like I said, there's no real guarantees of when I'm going to be on. For all I know, I might have the energy to come back on next week and feel completely rejuvenated. But I don't know that, and I'm not banking on that. And so for me to come to this decision, it definitely was scary. It was a little bit daunting because I was counting also the financial implications of this. I know that I'm not making any income right now. I'm not necessarily working with new clients or taking on new clients either. I'm not selling, I'm not launching. I'm simply just trusting my gut on this. And I risk a lot by making this decision. But I know that it was something that I needed to do and I wanted to honor it. And so using that as an example, excuse me, using that as an example, I want to really anchor this topic of self-leadership and trusting every decision you make, backing yourself, because there are going to be many times in your business, if not already, right, from when you started to get to where you are now, where you have had to practice and exercise real self-trust and real self-ownership of every decision you've made in a way that sometimes feels really terrifying because you're the only one backing yourself. Now, entrepreneurship is filled with these moments. I have a habit of like making major radical life-changing decisions or setting major goals every time I get comfortable. I don't know why, but I do it. Every time I move out of home, every time I moved out of home. The first time I moved out of home, I literally was like, yeah, great, this is the big thing that I'm going to do. And then once I moved out on my own, I then decided I wanted to move to a different place. Or then I decided I wanted to get a car. Or I decided that I was going to pack everything and then go and travel for a long-term period, right? Like, I've had so many moments in my life where I literally have just decided I want to do something crazy and I just act on it. And people see that in the past 3 years, my partner was even saying this, the past 3 years, my life has just done so much. Like, it's been filled with so much stuff that so many people in 3 years could not have imagined being able to do. And he was telling me this because we were recounting the past 3 years of our relationship. Right about the same time that I started my business, I got with him. And he was saying how, like, he definitely has made lots of progress in his career and he's seen a lot of things happen. But at the same time, he has been a witness to everything I've gone through, every up and down. And it truly has been crazy. It's been like so many wild wins in such a short period of time. And he's seen the way that I have been able to process making decisions very quickly and to be able to back myself on it. And so looking back at my own journey, I realized how true this is, that it isn't as common or as comfortable for most people than it is for me. The more I watch myself grow, quitting jobs, dropping my uni degree, moving out solo, to investing hundreds and thousands of dollars of my own hard-earned money, to investing coaching, mentorship, and now moving overseas for a few months, all of this is just absolutely wild. It's a level of decision making and self-trust that a lot of people don't have or don't get to experience. Excuse me, I'm going to take some water. I think I'm still recovering from my cough. And this pill is like really, it's not making it any easier. Okay, so all of this, I truly believe, though, is a byproduct of my ability to self-lead and to back every single decision I make. I know that people look at my life and think, you get to have it all. You get to say you want something and then you get to make it happen. You're so lucky. But girl, lucky girl syndrome, or the girl who makes everything happen, is not lucky. Like, we all have the same amount of choices in life. I have the same choices as you do, especially if you look at my story, you will see that I am just a regular girl. But the difference is I've been able to make decisions very quickly and to trust myself on those decisions. That's why I'm able to make things happen seemingly faster. Because when I say I'm going to do something, I allow myself to act on it very quickly. And what this requires is a very high risk tolerance. It means that I need to be willing to be okay with things going wrong, or with risking a lot of safety, familiarity, money, whatever it is, time, in order to see the possibility of something faster. So that's really all that's happened. A girl who makes things happen quickly is just a girl who is able to partner her risk tolerance with proactive decision making. Okay? So I want to highlight, though, that the ability to feel your way through decisions and really lead yourself and your business from the soul, like from a really transparent place, requires this one thing. It requires slowness. Okay? Because you cannot be rushed, you cannot be hustly, or you cannot be in a hurry, or trying to be like someone else, or trying to mimic somebody else, or trying to do this comparison thing or competitive thing with somebody else, and be able to self-lead in a way that is within integrity to the life, the values, and the business that you want to create. Truly, that way of doing things will just make you feel really discontent and unsatisfied and unfulfilled, and then misaligned later on. The reality is your eyes must always be on yourself and inward only. So this decision of me deciding to go on social media, what was the process, right? I had to take the time to actually be with myself. It's as simple as that. Like, I didn't plan to be off social media. I didn't sit there and go, do I want to be on or off? Sometimes that's the way it is. I evaluate a decision I want to make, but most of the time I just sit with myself. I reflect. I think about what is going on in my life, what is going on in my business that makes me curious. Okay, out of that curiosity, I explore. And from that exploration, what ends up happening is I end up finding things that make me want to do other things. For example, I find that, it hasn't been lighting me up to actually post on social media, even though I thought it would. Out of curiosity, I explore that. And then after I explore it, I find that sometimes I need to prescribe myself a certain set of actions that are going to create a different result. And so I decided I was going to get off social media for a little bit, right? There's so much more depth to that. If you guys want to read about the whole thing, I did put up a blog post explaining just the whole revelation that I had. So you can check that out in the link in the description. But yeah, it's like a whole thing. So, right, I had to be willing to slow down and to check in with myself. And most of the time, we want to lead with integrity. We want to have self-leadership, but we don't even give ourselves the time of day to hear our own thoughts. You know, a thought that I had during Silent Day, which was Nyepi, this Balinese New Year celebration where the whole day is just full silent. I had this thought that I like silence, but I often fill silence with stuff that I want to do. And the moment I run out of things to do in that silence, like journaling, reading, listening to music, then I get bored, right? So to a degree, I thought I liked silence. I thought I was good at silence, but I actually was not. I was good at filling the silence and being okay as long as I had stuff to do in the silence. But the real challenge is being able to sit in silence and not have to fill it with anything, to genuinely sit with the nothingness and to let whatever will be, and to let your thoughts present themselves to you instead of you trying to manage your thoughts. The amazing thing about meditation is it lets you stand back and observe your own thoughts without judgment. You're allowed to just observe what comes up to you in the silence and the stillness. And I think that that is a practice that has really been the guiding light to why I've had a lot of major shifts and pivots in my life. And I've been able to really back myself on them because in the silence, in the purity of just letting things be, things have presented themselves to me that I have then had a chance to evaluate and rethink on. And it has really allowed me to relate to myself in a deeper way. It's kind of like sitting with your best friend and having a D&M every single day. So you want to have that kind of relationship with yourself where you let the intuitive, the spiritual, whatever you believe in, to just present what it needs to and to explore with curiosity. Okay? So if I were to give some level of instruction or pathway around how I was able to make such a major decision so quickly and act on it immediately so that you can walk away from this episode feeling like you have some level of clarity or certainty around what to do with this, then here it is, okay? How was I able to make such a major decision so quickly and act on it immediately? The first thing is I was clear and am always clear on my mission. When you're clear on what you're here to do and who you're here to serve, you know how the consequences will pan out. You know and are gravely serious about staying on path to what you're here to do for the people you're here to serve. And so you're conscious of when energetically things aren't aligning or when something is just not right. You're just really aware of those things and those things matter to you. That is the important part, right? Somebody who's not within integrity to their mission and, let's say, says they care about people, but really all they care about is the money, then they're going to easily compromise the quality of service to the people they serve for the money to get the quick sale. They're going to easily want to look past the humanity of people and will just look to a more transactional experience. So this is an example of how it might show up. So when you're conscious of your mission here, it makes you genuinely curious, or it should make you genuinely curious when things are not happening as smoothly as you would like them to. And you explore that, you take the time to explore that. And I believe that that always affects how quickly you make decisions, because if you are in integrity to the mission that you're here to serve, for example, you're a mother and you're here to make sure your child has a healthy and a good life. If your child gets sick and you didn't care about the child, but you said that you did, and you said that that was your mission here as a mother, then it's out of integrity, it's out of alignment. A mother will naturally, when she decides she wants to be the best mother for her child, and she decides who she's here for is for her child, then she will naturally take the actions and behave in such a way that will respond to the needs of her mission. So, same dealio, okay? Get clear on your mission and get clear on what happens when you aren't clear on it, right? Know the consequences and take them seriously. And let that be what fuels you to always be in tune with your business and to be curious when you are not. The second thing is I had to be detached from what everybody else would think. We are social beings as humans, so it's going to be normal to worry about what everybody else is going to think about your decision. But just because you have a social tendency to worry or to care doesn't mean you need to be consumed by it. It's a very different thing. Being consumed by something takes energy that is ongoing. Worrying or having a slight ounce of what are they going to say is normal. It's going to take a moment of your energy. But to be consumed by it is to entertain it, to spin out, to just follow that rabbit hole, right? One of the things that I told myself, and I always tell myself when I'm making decisions that are going to affect a lot of people or that are going to, turn some heads, is they don't care exactly what I do. They don't care as much as I think they do. They're just excited to see what I'm going to do next and how it pans out. I decided that one day I was going to just simply shift my belief that instead of viewing my audience as critical people who wanted me to fail or who were just like judging me and looking at me like, what's she going to do next? Right? Like, instead of that, I decided that I didn't want to have those thoughts about my audience because they weren't serving me. So I decided that I was going to have thoughts like, they're excited to see what I'm going to do next. And they don't care what I do. They just care that I'm having fun and they love watching me having fun with my business, right? Those are helpful thoughts. So make sure you choose helpful thoughts and make sure you detach from what everybody else will think. Now, the third and final thing is that the direction came from deep within me. This direction was an intrinsically motivated direction. It wasn't something that was influenced by what somebody else said or what somebody else recommended or what my coach told me to do. My most life-changing and truly aligned decisions always came from within me. Doesn't mean they started from within me. Maybe they were inspired by a conversation or a prompt. But the final decision was intrinsically motivated. And this often feels like this undeniable, unshakable level of conviction that often you don't have the words to describe. A lot of people ask me, so what made you want to decide to travel long term and to pack up everything you've worked for and put it into storage? And yes, I can give you the entire story, but at the heart of it, it was really just this strong, undeniable feeling that I feel like I just had to do this. You'll get this feeling if you've ever met your first love, or if you've ever said, I love you for the first time. It's this undeniable gut feeling, and you just know it. And we've all had this inkling in our lives. And I believe that it's a universal experience that every human has access to. And whether or not you want to associate it to the spiritual, by all means. But I do believe that this is our inner compass. And when we are at a point in our business where we're making a major decision, like, are we going to take a break from it? Are we going to pivot? Or am I going to stop selling that service or cut off that program? Or maybe you're thinking, I'm in a completely, I'm in a niche that I don't want to be in. Or maybe you're thinking, I think it's time for me to quit my job. Like, there are so many times in our businesses where we really need this direction to come from within us, because what happens when it comes from outside of us and when we outsource that direction or the instruction is when push comes to shove, we will want to blame it on other people. We'll want to blame how hard things are on other people, on our coach said to do this, or our partner let us spend the money on the investment that didn't work out, or, whatever it is. But part of this is like being able to take full ownership of your decisions as well. Excuse me. So I want to end by giving you 3 main prompts on how to know if your decision is in need of more self-leadership from you. And all I mean by this is if you need to just take a little bit more time, a little bit more space, a little bit more energy to just be with yourself and your decision making a little longer. Now, I know time doesn't necessarily have to make things clearer, but time does help. Allocating actual time and energy and brain space will improve the quality of your decision, or at least how your decision feels to you. And as well, the longevity of your decision, because I find that when you really get behind your decision and you're really clear on it, it's very rare that you will take back the decision or will suffer some level of fatigue from the decision. It's more possible that you will have a longer, you experience the long-term positive effects of your decision when you can just make it from the best place and the cleanest, clearest headspace from the beginning. I hope that made sense. So, how to know your decision is in need of more self-leadership from you. First point is, this if you haven't thought about all the things surrounding your decision. So maybe you have made a decision, but you haven't thought about anything else other than just having made the decision. So I see this in business, for example, you decide you're going to do a launch, but you haven't progressed much from there. So you decide that you're going to do the launch, but you haven't thought about what emails am I going to send with the launch? When does the launch actually start? How many clients am I going to sign? How many clients do I have capacity for? How much money am I going to make? What is the funnel for this launch? You simply have just decided, yeah, I'm going to do a launch, and you're really excited about it, but you haven't gone into the planning stages. So this doesn't have to mean literal hours of planning. This is mentally your energy was spent on deciding the decision, but it stopped there. It's been a few weeks now and you haven't really done anything about it. In a more practical example, in a day-to-day one, is when, somebody decides they're going to start going to the gym. It's the new year, but they haven't actually gotten a gym membership, right? They've decided they're going to start going to the gym, but they haven't even decided what time they're going tomorrow. If you were to ask them, what time are you going to the gym? They're like, oh, I don't know, maybe this, maybe that. So it's this energy expenditure and where it's going and where it's being allocated. And so the person who needs to spend a little bit more time thinking about their decision, the person who needs more time in self-leadership about their decision is that person, if this is you and you find yourself in this situation a lot in your business or in your life. Now, before I continue, I just want to say, like, what do I mean by self-leadership around your decision? Like, it's basically what I said earlier. So it's spending that time with yourself. It's detaching from what everybody else will think and really identifying the thoughts that you think everybody will think and having reasons for it to back yourself. It's having deep direction and deep conviction that comes from within you. So that's what I mean. Like, spend more time around doing these things around that decision if these things are coming up for you. Okay, on to the second point. How you know your decision is in need of more self-leadership from you is you want others or other things or your coach or other people to tell you or to model to you what you should do. You simply go, do you think this is okay? Or you ask your audience, do you guys like this color or this color? Do you guys want me to do a font? And sometimes you excuse building community or creating some level of connection with your community with simply just good self-leadership. You don't need to outsource or crowdsource anything in your business. Like, guys, if you need your audience to tell you what fonts you should use, I think you're not ready to be an entrepreneur yet. Like, that's such a simple decision, right? And you might be like, oh, but Nicole, I want them to be involved in the process of building my fonts and my branding, and it'll just be really fun. Great. Do it as a fun activity. But don't base your business decisions on what you've crowdsourced. And remember, that's not even the whole world. That's like a percentage of the world who is choosing to engage with you. So if anything, it's not even accurate if you're trying to get something accurate. And if it's not about accuracy and you just want to build community in a way that is actually building community, right? Don't go half-half. Just take ownership of the decisions you need to make and then work on building community in another way. I do think, though, a caveat is I have done this before in my business where I'm like, do you guys like this color palette or this color palette? Out of curiosity and the spirit of fun. But I always make my decision, like at least 80% of my decision before I've even released that poll. So if I do want input, it's not going to be based on what they say. And I think that this is one of the more healthier ways to engage with your audience in terms of building something out, especially if it's not something like truly pivotal in your business, like your brand, your logo, your mission statement, or your offers. Don't build that with your audience. Like, you're the expert. Yeah? So if you guys are watching me on video, you'll see all the sass on my face. I think I'm actually liking this video situation. I feel like I get to like just bounce off. Sadly enough, I don't have my claws, like my nails, so I don't feel as sassy, but you get it. You get it. Okay, so don't crowdsource or outsource your trust to anybody, not even your coach. So, I have clients who are very dependent on me, and I always tell them, like, I'm not going to give you an answer. You give me your answer, and let's coach on it. Let's coach on why you don't love your answer. Let's coach on why that answer doesn't feel good to you. But I don't have your answers. I'm sorry, right? So I want you to really ask yourself if you unintentionally want other people to tell you what to do. I also find this is the case when we go to Google as well. It's kind of like when we aren't confident in a decision, we find that our subconscious next action is to outsource. So we turn to the most reliable thing that our brain can think of. We'll go to the coach. How is that coach doing it? Or maybe you're thinking of doing a lead magnet. And so you'll go and outsource to like, what was the last coach that you watched? How did they do their webinar? And you'll go and search it up and watch it and try and microanalyze it, right? Like, this is a sign that you are not trusting yourself. You're simply trying to outsource trusting other people. The argument you might have to that is, Nicole, but I just want inspiration. I just want to know what they're doing. Great. You can be inspired all day, every day, but I want you to be really honest with yourself. Are you doing it from a place of I want to be inspired, or I want to know how they did it so I can copy it? I've done that many times. I'm a culprit. I was going to say victim. I'm a culprit of that because it's what we do when we don't feel sufficient and when we don't feel that our answers are enough or good enough or successful enough. Okay? Check yourself on that. The final thing that will indicate to you if your decision is in need of more self-leadership from you is you are simply easily swayed by what other people think or want to do. When you have real self-leadership and self-trust, you have very clear reasons why you do and do not do things. You simply have those reasons and you love them, right? If like somebody asks me, Nicole, why don't you smoke? I'm gonna be able to give you a long list, and I'm not here to fight about it. You could tell me all the reasons why smoking is the best, but I'm just like, I'm not a smoker. And I have all these reasons and I love my reasons, period. Okay, so you need to get to a place where you are simply not swayed by what other people think or assume that you should do. This includes things that your brain tells you think you need to do. Okay, what your brain has subconsciously picked up. Oh, that's how that coach did it. Or this is how I scale. I need to hire a team member. No, you could scale without hiring a team member. Oh, how I scale is by building a mailing list and doing automated sequences. No, you could scale without having email sequences. I got to multiple six figures without an email list. No, I wouldn't recommend not having an email list at some point, but I definitely don't think you need an email list to build a multiple six-figure business, right? Oh, I need to send cold DMs and I need to do sales calls in this way because that coach said. There are so many other coaches who are saying something else. So I want you to form your own opinions for why you do things. And if you need backing, if you need strategy, if you need data for why something works and testing, then do it. Either figure it out yourself and create the evidence, test the results, or work with a coach who will teach you that method and get you results with it. But don't sit in the limbo of, I just do whatever everybody else does, because you can be successful in any way you want. I kid you not. I kid you not. You can be successful with paid ads or organic marketing the whole way through. You don't even need to do either or, right? So all you need to do is decide why you do anything in your life and in your business and love your reasons for them. That is going to accelerate your self-trust and self-leadership. And it's going to have you making big moves that back you, that you feel good about, that you don't take back. And you're going to love your business and your business is going to love you for it. Okay. All right, my loves, that is all for the episode. I really enjoyed doing this video podcast. And if you have, please comment below in YouTube. I know it's really weird to be saying YouTube, but I'm finally diving into the space in the smallest of ways. Of course, I'm not trying to rush into it, but please show me some love. Let me know in the comments on YouTube if you watched it, what you thought. And if you have any suggestions, recommendations, or content topics, please engage with me here on YouTube. As always, I'm going to be on Instagram, and you can follow along with the Surrender Experiment, my blog on my solo Southeast Asia adventure. All the links will be in the description, including the post that I mentioned about my social media hiatus. Otherwise, follow along with me on the podcast. I'll catch you next week. Bye.